All right, welcome everybody to the first Meet the Sponsors interview in 2022. We had a lot of time off, and I'm super excited with today's guest. We have a very special person, a two-time world champion, NHRA top alcohol dragster, and also a world record holder who not only won a world record, but beat her own record. She's the most winning pro sportsman NHRA female driver in the world, and my favorite social media coach, Megan Meyer. Megan, how are you?
I am doing good. Thank you so much, Alex. And one thing I've got to point out is so funny. So I have the record for the quickest ET. My sister has the mile per hour record in the same car. So technically it's my car. So I know a lot of people ask if I, want to get back into racing, and that would be a good draw for me to come back. So
Hey, is it fair to say that you're the quickest with 509 and she's the fastest? Am I saying that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Nice, nice. Family of racers. Gotta love it. And the one thing that's really amazed me with you is you took time off recently to have a baby. So you semi-retired. I know you said you're retired, but racers never retire. I think you took some time off to have Henry. He's what now, 5 months old?
He is 5 months old, yes. And
Right
so,
on.
um, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So in 2020, at the beginning of the year, I knew that it was going to be my last year. We didn't announce it until Indy, which is Labor Day weekend. And right after that, got married, or sorry, we won the championship, and the weekend after, got married, and then got pregnant right after that. So everything just kind of happened really quickly.
Nice. And what really amazes me is throughout that whole time, and even during the midst of a pandemic, you were able to grow your social following to 140,000 at least. And those are legitimate, credible, engaged followers. That's not just like you went out and purchased followers. These are real people who are racers who follow you because they want to hear what you have to say. And that's why we're here today is I want you to help teach us how did you do that? That's amazing, by the way. 140,000 legitimate engaged fans and followers. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's just a slow growth over time. So for me, it started back when I was in college. And so I went to school to study graphic design and marketing. And one of the classes we had to take as a freshman in graphic design was to make social media pages. So we had to do a Facebook page, we had to do Twitter, YouTube. We didn't have to do Instagram because that wasn't really big back then. And we had to have a blog. And so our homework every week was we had to make posts on all of those pages. And so for me, I just naturally made them racing pages and was just, doing my homework and just kind of learned how to grow it from there. So it all
Nice.
goes back to school as just a homework assignment.
Nice. So you are a marketing major and you also are in graphics, arts and graphic design. You do both. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah, so I actually went to school, all three, marketing, communications, and graphics.
Okay.
And I knew that I wasn't going to race professionally in the top alcohol dragster until after I graduated college. And so I went to school thinking, well, I need to know all three of these things to be a good race car driver and to also be a good ambassador for our sponsors. But I ended up dropping the communications because I didn't want to be in school for 7 years and not get to go racing.
I hear you. I hear you. So you were just saying a second ago, you had to post once a week on the different platforms. Let's jump right in. So there are different platforms and each one has a different use. There's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat. Some are B2B, some are B2C, some are C2C, consumer to consumer. Which ones do you find most effective in motorsports for racers who are trying to promote not just themselves, but also their brands? Now, I'll qualify that real quickly is I'm pretty sure that with Facebook, you're marketing to your friends and followers and people you know. Same with Instagram and Snapchat. You're marketing to people you're connected with and people you know. With YouTube and Twitter and some of the other social platforms, you could potentially be marketing to strangers. Which do you find are more effective for you as a racer to promote yourself, as well as your sponsors and the brands that you represent?
Well, this is a loaded question because there's two big answers here. The first one is to be on all of them so you can reach as many people as possible.
Okay.
The second one is to only be on the ones that your target market is on. And this is the target market of your sponsors. And so, because that's the reason, why you're posting is to help grow an audience so that way you can help your sponsors make sales online through it. So, I don't recommend being on all of them because it's way too much time. It can get really, repetitive, posting the same thing all over the place, and then also trying to come up with content. So I recommend picking one primary and then having one to two, maybe three, like secondary platforms. So for me, the primary is Instagram, and that's because Instagram can do pretty much everything that all of those other platforms can. They have stories, they have reels. So stories is like Snapchat. They have reels, which is like TikTok. They have long form videos, so like Facebook and YouTube. And then they have just regular posts, just like Facebook or any other platform out there. So Instagram can really do it all. And they're getting a lot more advanced with what you can do. I mean, it used to be like once a year there'd be an update, and now it's like every quarter there's a new update with Instagram. Facebook is a secondary just because the audience demographic on there is typically the ones that we're trying to reach for that target market. And also, Facebook is still very widely used by everybody. I know the demographic for Facebook is typically older. And I do see that with a lot of the pages that I run for clients and for ourselves. Instagram demographic is usually younger, more like 20s, 30s, 40s. Facebook is usually 50, 60 higher. And then if, let's say, your sponsor's demographic, though, is maybe younger than that, then that's where Snapchat and TikTok come into play. And so they all vary. They're all a little bit different than each other. And that's the thing you want to really focus on is who are you trying to reach, and using each platform with a purpose. YouTube is great because you can post all of your, like GoPro videos on YouTube. What's really interesting about YouTube, though, is it's not really a social media platform. It's more of a search engine.
Yes.
And so YouTube is owned by Google. So whenever you Google something, YouTube is always going to be the first ones with videos to pop up. So it's really good to utilize that for search engine optimization. If you have long form videos, you can post them on like Facebook and Instagram, but they won't really pop up if you try to Google it like they would if you post them on YouTube. So it's kind of a long process of trying to figure out which one is perfect for you.
No, that's great. And what you said is really important here. This is a very key thing when it comes to social media. Is what Megan said is Google is the world's largest search engine, and YouTube is owned by Google. So Google owns YouTube, and YouTube is the second largest search engine. So Google has the first and the second largest search engines. And as Megan said, they're searchable. So if you put content on Google and YouTube, it could potentially become evergreen, not just for yourself, but for your sponsors, which then allows the search engines to find it. How do search engines find YouTube videos? Is it just with the descriptions or the hashtags, or what's the secret that you've learned to get traffic to your YouTube videos?
Yeah, so descriptions, the title, and hashtags. And also, I've been testing out locations as well. And so you can actually tag, like when you're uploading the video, you can add a location of either the track or of just like the city that is around it. And so I've been kind of testing that out and seeing if those videos that have those certain tags are getting more viewers. But like you said, it's long term, it's evergreen. And so videos that we've posted 5 years ago are still getting a lot of views. And because they're getting more views, it just adds up more quickly. Whereas the videos that we're posting now might not get as many views, but I know in a year or two, they're going to double and triple in views. So if you are, using YouTube and you just see really low counts in your views, don't get discouraged by it because it's a long-term game with YouTube. And also, you can take those videos and post them in other places like a blog or your own website, you can take that embed code and put that video straight on your own website so you can help get more views that way instead of just only leaving it on YouTube. So keywords and the title, descriptions, hashtags, and trying out locations are all great ways to get that searchability from Google.
That's excellent. I've never done the locations before. What do you find is a good sweet spot in terms of the length of a video? Are we still 15 seconds to 2 minutes? Are we 2 to 3 minutes? Are we up to 15, 20 minutes now? It seems to change over time. At first, it was always, the quicker the better because we have short attention spans. But personally, if I find a content that I'm interested in, I actually like a longer format video. What have you found is helpful to promote yourself as a racer brand or even your sponsors? Any special length or is it?
So we like to do both a long term or a long form and a short form. So
Yeah.
typically I'll do 3 minutes as my long form video, and that's what we post onto YouTube. And then what I'll do is I'll also post that onto Facebook, but I'll share it on a different day. So that way our audience isn't seeing the exact same thing twice. If they go from, let's say they're scrolling on their Facebook page and they see their video and then they hop on over to YouTube, I don't want them to see the same thing because they're not going to interact with it both times. So I like to
Yeah.
wait a couple days to post and then but before I do the long form video, I'll do a short version of it, so 15 to 30 seconds, and I'll post that as a highlight. And so I'll post that like on Instagram and say, hey, our full video is on YouTube. Go check it out there. Or like on Facebook, a couple days before I plan to post the full version, I'll do the short version and say, our full video is coming this Friday.
Nice.
Make sure you tune in so you can check it out. And then also, what you can do is what's great about if you are getting videos, you can reuse that content as much as you can. So you can take 15 seconds of each different clip and repost that at a different time. And so like we're in the off season right now, so a great content idea is to take one of your videos on YouTube, take a 15 to 30-second clip from there and post it onto your Instagram or Facebook or whichever platform you're on and say, hey, go to our YouTube channel to check out this race. We had, this result, maybe we ran this fast, or, what was something cool about that special event that you could highlight to then drive traffic to that full video.
That's excellent. So I guess it also allows you the option of promoting both yourself as a racer, which has one set of objectives with social, and then also promoting your sponsors, which has another set of objectives. And perhaps different sponsors have different demographics. Some sponsors might reach older people, therefore Twitter and Facebook. Some sponsors might reach younger people, younger demographics. So TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. I guess by splitting up the videos and the lengths, it allows you to reach a more broad demographic for broader sponsors, as well as promoting yourself. Do you promote yourself as a racer and your sponsors always at the same time, or do you separate that?
It's typically ends up being at the same time, but not on purpose. Just because, if we're, just naturally using the sponsor's product. So like a good example would be today on our racing team page, which is Randy Meyer Racing. On Instagram today, I posted a couple of pictures of the guys in the shop were putting heads together. And so naturally they're wearing a hat with our sponsor's logo on it, and we're using the Lucas Oil assembly lube, and so I tag the sponsors in it and I use the hashtags so they are seeing that, hey, we're posting content that way. So whenever the sponsor clicks on that hashtag, they'll see our picture pop up or they'll get the notification that they were tagged. And so that's just unintentionally promoting them. But then at the same time, so while the
It's
guys
real
were
when you do it
doing,
that way. That's organic because that's real
yeah,
promotion. You're
it
not
is
throwing up the
organic.
logo. You're wearing and using the products while you're doing your thing. So I think that's really, really strong and solid promotion. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Keep going.
Oh no, no, you're fine. But you're 100% right. Just organic. And so then at the same time, though, while the guys were working in the shop putting the heads together, So after I took a couple of pictures, I then did a video of them just putting the head together using the Lucas Oil Assembly Lube. And so that way, in like a week or a couple of days, then I'll post a video. So it's going to be the exact same thing. One's just a picture and one's a video.
Nice.
And that one is going to be more of a product promotion for Lucas Oil, showing, trying to feature how we use their product. So you can do it both ways, organically and
Planned.
intentionally.
Yeah, planned. So, how many times a day or a week? And you're very active with social. I love that. You're very active. Older people like me, I'm 56. It's really hard to be active on social media and do it right and not look like a fool. But how many times a day or a week do you post? And then I'm going to then transition towards you being the coach, coaching young racers and amateur racers who are trying to learn how to use social, people who don't have the following that you have. What advice can you give them, and how do you train them so that they can amass a following that then promotes themselves and their sponsors? And how often should they be posting on social?
Yeah. So, okay. So, what was the first part of your question?
So how often do you post? How
Oh
often do you
yeah.
post?
Okay. That's right. Okay. So, on the racing pages, so when I'm referring to the racing page, I'm talking about our team page, which is the Randy Meyer Racing page.
Yep.
I post every other day, and
Okay.
I alternate between platforms. So I only use, well, I use YouTube as well, but that's only like once a month. But so Instagram and Facebook are the primary platforms that I use for it. So I just post every other day. So today was Instagram, tomorrow's Facebook, Wednesday Instagram, Thursday Facebook, and then it just alternates. That's I do that because one, it's easier, so I'm not having to come up with content to post every single day. And I didn't, whenever I used to do that, but whenever I switched, I didn't see a dip in engagement or followers, anything like that. So by posting every day, I wasn't really gaining anything. And so by doing it every other day, it works for the audience, it works for us as well. For my pages, which is the Megan Meyer Racing, I do every day on Instagram. I do 3 days on Facebook and 3 days on LinkedIn. And so Instagram is my primary, so that's why I post there every single day.
Okay.
I try to do stories every day, and since having Henry, I haven't really had as much time to be able to.
I don't know how
Uh,
you do it. You're a new mommy. I don't know how you're doing. How are you shuffling all this? All the
well,
social media
so
posting, and I mean, it's crazy. I know what it's like because I have 4 children, as most of these people know. Keep it up. I
yeah.
mean, you're doing great.
Well, I gotta be honest, I did take a break. And so if you do go to my pages, you'll notice I just started posting again. So I took about 20 days of a break off for the holidays. And it's something that I've always done every year. So, it's not just because, having a new baby and stuff like that, but that was a main reason to continue doing that.
True.
But the main reason why I take a break off in December from social media is the holidays, just trying to be more present with families, not trying to be
Yes.
worrying about, oh, we need a picture of this or need a video of this. Um, but also because that's what everybody else is doing. So there's really not as many people that are on social media in December. And so it's okay to take a break every now and then. And then
I
I
do the
also
exact same.
usually yeah, I also usually take a break in the summertime too, just because for me personally, I need a break. But I do notice that when I do take a break, even if it's just a couple of days off of social media, my engagement goes up when I get back on because people are excited to
Interesting.
see what I've been up to.
Interesting. Do
So,
you deliberately create posts that encourage engagement, or is that just a coincidence or happenstance, or just it's random? Because obviously we want the
well,
most engagement. So ideally we want to always try to engage our followers and fans, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way.
yeah, so the intention is to get as much engagement. So I always try to include what's called a call to action. So the call to action is encouraging people to, hey, leave a comment, like the post, share it with your friends, or click on the link, whether it's in the post or like on Instagram, you can't have a link in the post. So you can only have your link in the bio on your profile page. So telling people, hey, go there and click on this link. So the intention is to do one of those four things with every single post. And so the easiest one is to leave a comment. And so I always try to ask a question, whether it's at the beginning of the caption or at the end of the caption. And an easy one is, so let's say like, race season's about to start up. An easy question you could ask is, what race are you looking forward to the most? Or what's a new race that you would like to go to this year that you haven't been to before? So just questions like that that you could ask your fans and followers, and just to help drive engagement. Because the way that the algorithms work, and this is for every single platform out there, the more the people are spending time on your post. So whether that's watching the video, scrolling through the pictures, leaving comments, as long as they're spending time on your post and they're interacting with you, it's telling the algorithm that they need to see your content more. And so then the algorithm will push your next time you post, it'll try to put that in the top, what top 10 posts that they see the next time that they log into the app. And that goes for any social media platform out there. So you always try to want to get the people to engage as much as they can. Doesn't matter exactly how it is, but just by asking them to, or telling them to leave a comment, is usually the easiest way.
Yeah, that's brilliant, actually. So simple and brilliant. It's someone starting out today, because there's several people on the call, and this is, as you know, is recorded, and we'll post it later for people who are not on the call today. How does someone who's just getting started with social media and doesn't really have any followers yet, what's their first steps that they should take in order to credibly and organically build a following without looking too commercial right off the outset? Because a lot of times I see racers, and not just racers, but athletes and even individuals with too many logos and too much promotion. And you and I have spoken before, and I know you don't like a lot of logos. I don't like a lot of logos. Too much promotion is not legit. It seems too commercial and too fake. So what do you recommend, or what would you advise to a young racer that's starting out, that wants to build a following, that doesn't really have one yet? What's the first step?
The first step is to, like you said, not as many logos. So try to keep it as personal as you can so people can relate with you. But at the same time, don't make it your personal diary where you're posting, everything, and all. You don't want to get too personal. You want to set some boundaries, but you don't want it to be all about the race car. So I have noticed that, and this has gone on for years, that post where I just take a selfie has done way better than when I post a very professional, well lit, like really great image of the race car. And so try to include pictures that, have you with the race car, or you like working in the shop or in the pit areas. But so you want to try to get the mix of both, but I like to steer clear of where it's only pictures of the race car, because it's not relatable, and humans like to interact with other humans, whether you know it or not. So it's always best to try to keep it personal. Have your profile picture a picture of yourself. Try not to have it as your logo, because whenever people, they just go and search, and they just see the little circle and your name, they're not going to really know who that is if they just see a logo. So always try to have your headshot as your profile picture. And then when people do jump onto your page, another great area is the bio section. And so like on Instagram and TikTok, that's one of the first things you see when you go to someone's profile. On Facebook, you have to go to like the about section of their page, but you want to fill in that information and tell people what you race, where you're from, what series you race in. If you have, something that's interesting, cool, that, sets you apart from everybody else. Also, you can use that to drive traffic to, let's say, your YouTube page or to your website, or if you have an email newsletter list that you want people to sign up for, you can have a link and tell people to go visit that page or go sign up for your newsletter. So having your picture as your profile picture, using the bio area, and then also just posting pictures of yourself. So whether it's you standing next to the car, or you working in the pits or in the shop, especially now the off season. So what are you working on to get ready for the 2022 season? I know for NHRA it starts in a month, so it seems like back in November, it seems like we had forever to get ready, and now it's like middle of January almost, and we got to leave for Pomona in a couple of weeks. So just sharing how the team is getting ready to prepare for the year, and if you have anything new and exciting coming up. So if you have any new sponsors that you signed on for this year, or if you re-signed, or if you're continuing with any sponsors, share that news, and just try to talk about as much as you can without trying to be too salesy with it. And again, just try to be personal, because it's how you can relate with people that's going to attract people and keep them coming to you.
So I like the way you said that, because it's a very social medium, and that's why it's called social media. I was listening to Douglas Burdett's Marketing Book podcast. It's one of the podcasts that I really enjoy. And it was either yesterday or today, he had a guest on, and she was talking about, it's not called narcissistic media, it's called social media. It's not about you. It's about what you can do in your social community and how you can help the social community. And I thought that was very interesting. But before I get off on that tangent, I want to go back a second to your mentioning photos. Can you just take any photo from any photographer and post it, or do you have to have photo rights? Do you take, obviously I know you take your own photos, but for those racers who perhaps don't have photos of their own, if they get some from a photographer, what is the proper etiquette to make sure that you can actually use that photo?
Yes, so I would say for me, I post about 80% pictures that I've just taken with my cell phone. 20% though, we do get from photographers. So the way we do it is a couple different ways. So I have a photographer that I hire at the races, and so she does pictures and videos for the team. She sends them to me on Dropbox, and then that way I can go and post them on our social media pages, because for example, I was pregnant last year. I couldn't go to a lot of the races, and so I couldn't get that for myself. So I used, she's contracted to do that for us, and the rights that we have is to use that for social media.
Excellent.
Then we also, let's say we want to do like some headshots for drivers to use for hero cards and all that type of stuff. We have to then hire a photographer to take those pictures, and the process of that is you are paying for his time, his labor, his equipment, and you're also paying for those digital files. And you're either paying for, or you can pay for both, the low resolution version, which is just only for web, or you can do the high resolution version, which is just for print. And so the high resolution versions of your photos are going to cost a lot more. It could be anywhere from $50 to $250 I've paid for one file. And but those ones are ones that we're only using for print, because they're going to be very clear and sharp and color corrected and all that type of stuff. Low resolution ones, you can pay anywhere from $1 per photo file up to $10-$20. It depends on the photographer and what their rates are, and also depends on like the series that they race in. And so I know, like for NHRA, if they are technically hired by the media, so let's say National Dragster, you are not allowed to buy those images from them. So if you see them post them on on Facebook, or you see it posted on the NHRA's website, you legally cannot take that and print it and sell it, or put it on your hero cards, or put it on a t-shirt and sell it. And so there's a lot of I want to say like miss or like uneducated racers out there that don't quite realize the legal rights that they have with media and with the photographers and also videographers. And so, inside of my course, which is called Driven by Social, I've actually I sat down with one of my favorite photographers who works for one of the best magazines in our industry and sat down with him for an hour and asked him all these questions of, how can I get pictures from track for photographers? What can I legally use them for? And all that type of stuff. So if you want to know more about that, if you want to, make sure you save your butt and you don't find yourself in a lawsuit because it has happened, I would love to, for you guys to get inside Driven by Social where you can see that interview with the photographer. And then I've got like 5 hours of social media training videos inside of the program that so it's called Driven by Social. It's open right now, and I do have a coupon code
I was
for
just gonna
it.
say that's a mandatory there. You guys have to watch this. It is an amazing, amazing course, and just what she teaches and the strategy. It's not just here's what to do, but there's a logical strategy of how to do it. And then of course we have a discount.
Yeah,
Mention
so I have a discount just for you guys that are watching. So whether you're watching live or watching the replay, it's for 25% off, and the code is Meet the Sponsors. It's all one word. And so you can save 25% off. The only kicker is that the doors are closing this Friday, so January 14th, because I am going to be doing some updates to the curriculum because social media is always changing and the platforms are changing and evolving and letting you do more stuff, and some of them are taking away stuff. So I will be changing it, but if you get in now, you'll be able to see all those new edits before I open it back up again in March. So I know we have a couple of students that are watching right now live with us. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sure one of those guys would love to give their testimony and say how it's helped them out.
So I had three different people at three different occasions at PRI this past year or last month, I should say, come up to me and said that they've taken your courses. And that's why I reached out to you. Three strangers, people I don't know, never met. After my sponsorship seminar, they all came and said, have you seen, do you know, have you heard of, you should have Megan on your core, on your webinar. And you and I've known each other, and so I've reached out to you, and that's why you're on. Is when I hear from three different people at PRI how good that program is, I was like, all right, we're going to get this out and we're going to get racers knowledgeable so they know how not just to use social media, but how to use social media to create value for sponsors. So sponsors then hopefully contribute more money to the teams and the series and motorsports in general, and everything grows. So what you're doing is amazing. Keep it up. And I hope everybody here that either is on live or watches the recording checks out your lessons and uses the Meet the Sponsors code for 25% off. How cool is that? Thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. And you know what? It all started when I picked up your book. That's really honestly where it all began.
I need to
So,
update that one of these days. It's getting old now, right? It's almost a decade old.
oh, really?
I
Oh my
think it's time
God.
to update. Yeah, I started writing it about 10 years ago. It took about 3 years to write. So an update is, because of valuation. So as you know, I gave away the ebook at PRI for free. But the ebook didn't have the valuation section in it because COVID changed everything and valuations have changed. Media has changed. So the book will be updated with new media values and new media rates and comparable rates. I just don't know when I'm going to do it. How do you have time to do anything? I don't know how you do it with a new baby. It's amazing.
Oh.
But hey, before I forget, I do have a question. You were mentioning on photography and the different resolutions, high resolution for print and cost a little more with some photographers, low res for online. What are the correct formats, sizes, or optimization, even pixels? What do you use for the different social media platforms? Do you hold the phone vertically or horizontally? What do you recommend? Because I've seen both and my children do both. And no matter what I do, I'm always advised I need to do it the other way. So what's the right
Right?
way?
Yeah, okay, great question. So I say vertical is best, and the reason is because we hold our phones vertically, and so Instagram is great about this. The ratios are there's 9 by 16, so 9 width, 16 high, or
Okay.
if you do it horizontally, then it would be 16 by 9.
Okay.
Or the next size down is 4 by 5, and so 4 across, 5 high. So it's a little bit shorter actually. And then the next one is just a square, which is 1 by 1. And so those are the three, or actually four if you count the horizontal, the four main sizes that you need for social media.
Okay.
And they apply different areas. So the first one, so the 9 by 16, that's where it's the full screen. So that's like what you see on Snapchat. So like Snapchat, Instagram stories, TikTok videos, Instagram reels. Those take up the full screen. Now, the next size down, the 4 by 5, that's the most common size to post on for Instagram and for regular pictures or videos. And
Okay.
so you can do the 1 by 1, which is what they used to be. It used to just only where you could post squares
Hmm.
on Instagram. I think it was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago where they changed it. You could do the 4 by 5, so taller pictures. And so you always want to try to do the taller sizes if you can, because when someone's just scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or whichever platform, you want to take up as much of that screen as possible. You want to have all that real estate that you can,
Yeah.
so that way when they're scrolling, they stop, they watch or they look and they like, and then hopefully they go and read the caption and then they leave a comment from there. So you want to take up as much real
Nice.
estate as you can on the screen. It's okay if you don't, if it's okay if you just do the 1 by 1, but the option is there, so why not take advantage of it?
And how many pixels on average? Like, what is the actual average file size? Are they 1 megabyte, 10 megabyte, 500K? What I never know what size to upload to the
Mhm.
different platforms. Now, I'm also old school, so I learned a long time ago, over 20 years ago, how to use Photoshop. And is there a better or easier photo or even video editing? Although, let's talk photos for a second. Um, App or application that you would recommend to get the photos to the correct size and resolution?
Yes. So for resolution, typically 72 is the size for screens, and then 300 is the size for printing. And so if you take, so let's say you're trying to do your hero cards and your designer asks for a picture of your car or your headshot, and you just send them a picture that you downloaded from Facebook. It's going to be that 72 pixel size, which is going to print really pixelated and blurry in the hero card. So unless they like shrink it down to where it looks clear, but then it's only going to be, the size of a business card
Yeah.
instead of a hero card. And so that's where the 300 size is perfect for printing because it'll be clear, but it's too big to post on the internet. You can post it, it's not going to hurt anything. The only thing it will hurt is it's going to take a lot longer to upload. So, like, if you try to post that on your website, your web page is going to be
Mm. A lot
very
of lag time.
slow. Yeah, trying to upload it because you're trying to post, even though, the picture doesn't look big on your screen, it's actually, this big. And so the computer's trying to shrink it down and it just takes too much time to do that. So you want to try to stick with that low resolution size for anything that you're doing on screen, no matter what the size of the screen is. So whether it's your laptop, a tablet, or your cell phone, that resolution is always going to be the same number, that's 72.
Okay.
And then, so for the second part of your question for apps, there is a really cool app and it's free and it's called Lightroom Mobile. So it's like the sibling of Photoshop. It's owned by or created by Adobe, which also created Photoshop. But Lightroom is where you can go in and add all the filters and change the coloring and all that on your phone. So I typically don't ever post a photo without first editing it in Lightroom, because for like for example, my feed, the pictures are a lot more, some of them are a lot more lighter, and then I like to do contrast with darker images.
Mhm.
Whereas ones like I post on the Randy Meyer Racing page, they're going to be really vivid, really colorful to kind of draw your eye in. And so the filters that I use are different for each page, and also because I want, if someone's just scrolling and they don't see the caption or they don't see who posted it, but they just see the picture, I want them to know that that picture came from me because they recognize that filter and how those colors looked on that photo versus if it was someone else.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And that's, I mean, what you're doing now, we can still follow everything, including how you're a new mommy and raising a child. And it's fun because it brings the reality, it makes it real now. Now, do you think you're going to get back in the next year or two of racing, or you're not going to say
I'm not going to
509? Is there going to be a 508 in the future, you think, or what?
Well, they are trying. Those guys are trying to knock me down. So, if you know, I am very competitive, just naturally growing up as a race car driver. So whether it's my sister that beats me or someone else, I will probably be motivated to come back. But I will say, I am not planning on coming back to Top Alcohol Dragster. I want to try something new. So
Hmm.
I've always done dragsters
Nice, nice.
from junior dragsters to super comp dragster to top alcohol dragster. So trying something new for this year. We'll see how it
Nice,
goes.
nice. All right. Well, I noticed that our time is almost up. This went really fast, and they usually do. But before we do it real quick, and I walk over and I'll go to the other screen and we can chat with some of the attendees that are on the call. You had mentioned to me that your social media is a strategy. It's not something that you just get up and randomly do. You plan it. It's a strategy. Sometimes you have a calendar that you actually advise people can to remind you to put dates or to do certain things, create certain posts. But did you say it was a 5-part content strategy? Did I hear that right?
Yes, yeah. So what I told
What
you,
are the five
yes.
parts? Okay,
So was not really five parts, but I like to do five different types of content.
that's
So
what I
and it's
thought.
gonna
Got it.
be
Got it.
it's different for everybody, but for racers, the parts are typically going to be the same. So one is going to be like your like race results or you know however you did at your race. The next type of content is going to be building up hype for that race, so pre-race, doing any announcements, especially if you have a new sponsor on board for a race. And then another content category is about you. So, like I was saying, be more personal. So, tell people about your story and how you got started racing. So, like for me, for example, telling people how I want to start racing something else in the future.
Hint,
And
hint. I like the suspense.
yeah.
That's smart.
So, yeah, so be personal, tell people about your story. Another content category is behind the scenes. So, what's going on in the shop right now, preparing for the 2022 season. What do you do when you're in the pits and you're at the races? Do you have a routine of how you get ready for the car?
We all watch a lot of racing, and we're in the racing industry. So how many times can you see somebody win and be excited? Well, if it's someone new who wins, that's great. And somebody who's an underdog, we love that. But it's the behind the scenes where you really get to learn the personalities and the lifestyles and see what's going on. And I think that that has a very deep, compelling interest to a lot of people, and a lot of spectators and viewers really enjoy that behind the scenes content. And that's one thing that I think you are exceptional and outstanding at. So sorry, I just interrupted, but keep going.
Oh no,
And then
you're fine.
and then I'm going to transition, right? Because we have only 1 hour total on this and it's almost up. But as you transition, see if you can transition into explaining how you use your social media metrics and how the metrics form your strategy. If they do, if you're looking at metrics and they tell you something, does it make you do things different next time on social? That's kind of where I want to go, is using data, and how do you use data to increase performance?
Yes, that's a good question. And the answer is yes. And so inside of Driven by Social, I have an entire spreadsheet. And this is one that I use for me, for our racing page, and for all the clients that I work for. I keep track of everything. So all the likes, the comments, the follows, the video views, all that stuff, because I like to see what performs well and what doesn't. So that way I know what I should keep posting about in the future. And so that's how, like I said, how I found out that when I post just pictures of the car, they tank. But when I post pictures of either just me or me with the car, they do really well.
Nice.
And so inside of Driven by Social, I provide that spreadsheet for you. And that's actually one of the updates that I'm going to be making is I'm going to be adding on to the course and really going into more detail with that and telling racers, explaining how it is that they can use that to then analyze their content and take what does really good and times that by 10 so that way they can just see massive growth on their pages.
And that is super important for sponsors as well, because that's data that you can take and put into a proof of performance report, which a sponsor, perhaps a marketing director or a brand manager, is going to show the CEO and the CFO to validate and make credible the results and the whole reason that they're sponsoring a racer or any athlete or property in the first place. You want to give your sponsors data that shows that you're working for them so that they can show their bosses that the sponsorship works, so they do it again. So collecting that data and using those metrics, I think is critical, and you do an outstanding job. Where can people find all of your stuff? Tell us all the social platforms, the websites. How do we get a hold of you? How do we
Yes.
hire you?
So all the information is available on my website, which is meganmeyer.racing. And if you want to know more about the course Driven by Social, it's on my website, or you can type in meganmeyer.racing/driven by social. And remember that coupon code is meet the sponsors. And if you get in before Friday, then you'll be able to save your spot for the rest of the year. And the curriculum that you get, it's all pre-recorded videos. There's a workbook that goes along with it, and then all the spreadsheets and bonuses. You get all of it at once, so you can go through it at your own pace, or you could do a little bit at a time. Just don't go too slow with it, so that way you make sure you get it done.
Yeah.
But then once you're in for life, so you'll get access to all the updates. If you don't get in by Friday, then you'll have to wait until it opens back up again in March.
I need to learn this stuff. I really do. I try to pawn it off to my children, but they just throw it right back at me. They're like,
Alex,
Dad.
can I chime in?
Is that Trevor? Who is that?
Trevor, yeah.
I recognize that voice. How you doing, Trevor?
I'm good, man. I can't speak enough of Megan's class, or coaching, I should say. I had people reach out to me after PRI saying, I met more people that said they followed your social media or left and right of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I learned that between Megan and Alex and all that kind of stuff. It was a kind of a cool thing to get all these texts going. I just met another person that knows you. I feel like the mayor of PRI.
No, Trevor, 3 different people at PRI this year came up to me and all mentioned Megan's courses. And that's, she was my first call when I got back from PRI. I need to put Megan on the webinar. Just it's an outstanding resource with such high reviews that, we have to do it, I think, at this point, because racing got hurt last year. Motorsports got hurt. Not too many racers or even properties were able to raise a lot of sponsorship money. And we now and sponsors still had a pretty good year, which is the problem. A lot of sponsors did really well. A lot of brands and aftermarket did really well. So the mentality of a lot of these marketing directors are, well, gee, I didn't sponsor any events. I didn't have any sponsored athletes, but we still did very well. So maybe we don't need sponsorships. And our goal is now to show them, no, the reason why you did well is because the sponsorships you did in the past were successful in reminding consumers and customers about your brand, so that when they did go purchase, they remembered you. The marketing that companies did 2, 3, and 4 years ago is what made them successful through COVID and why they did so well. And it's not because they weren't sponsoring events or athletes. And that's a point that really needs to be made, is you got to continue those investments. Marketing is often the very first thing that companies cut when the budgets are cut, and it's not. Marketing should never be the first thing cut. Marketing should be the last thing cut. They need
You
to
were
increase their
mentioning
marketing budgets.
you were mentioning going back 3 or 4 years for the sponsor and stuff. But my little trick I've kind of come across
Sure.
is go farther. Go back to
Ah.
sponsors you used to watch 10, 15 years ago and say, hey, we missed you in racing. We'd love to get you back out there. Why aren't you know? And let them go. Yeah, okay, yeah. Let's see what you got. You know, because they maybe have left the sport for a reason or for a racer or something that didn't sit well. But
Sure.
maybe those people aren't involved in racing anymore.
So I'm going to switch cameras real quick. I'm going to go to the other camera where we can do a little chat. But Megan, you rock. Thank you so much. Tell us once again how everybody can reach you and find you. And then we're going to stay on the line and we're going to do a little chat with the attendees who've remained on after the hour mark.
Yes, so you can find me on my website, meganmeyer.racing, and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, meganmeyer.racing as well there. So it's all seamless.
Right
And if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email.
Can you stay on the line with us like 5-10 more minutes?
I sure can.